If you live in Massachusetts, I don't need to tell you that the cost of housing is a huge problem facing the state. In her first State of the Commonwealth address, Governor Maura Healey described the stakes.
It starts with housing, the biggest challenge we face.
She urged lawmakers to take action on her administration's proposed $4 billion Affordable Homes Act. And a few hours ago, Healey's Secretary of Housing and Livable Communities, Ed Augustus, went before lawmakers to make the case for the bill. He joins me now. Welcome, Secretary Augustus.
Thank you.
So what took so long to get to something so ambitious? As Healey said in her speech, this is a decades in the making problem, and there is no one who doesn't recognize the problem in the state.
Well, I think that's right. I think there's a number of factors that have combined to create the housing crisis that we're facing, and that manifests itself at so many different levels. If you talk to business leaders, they'll tell you about the challenges in terms of retaining and recruiting talent. When they're competing for some talented person to work for their company or business, and yet they have to pay close to 50% of their income on housing. They're looking at other places that only 30% maybe has to go to housing.
So that's the problem. That's the outcome. But what's taken so long to pull everyone together to say we got to grab hold of this?
I think a few things. I think historically we've seen local communities often throw up barriers to housing production that have made it either impossible or very time-consuming and costly to pursue all of the appeals and regulatory processes at the local level. The MBTA Communities Law is really designed to help remove some of those barriers at the local level. So we're very much engaged with the implementation of that law. And quite honestly, we just have not been incenting the industry to do enough of the construction necessary to kind of keep up with demand.
And construction is extremely expensive in this state.
Exactly. So right now we have interest rates that are historically high, which makes the cost of financing projects challenging. And we know a number of projects that are otherwise permitted and supported and designed are now on the sidelines because they don't work in this interest rate environment. That combined with the inflationary pressures, particularly on construction materials, have been kind of a perfect storm to really slow housing production. And that's the challenge we see, right? It's a supply-demand issue. If you're a renter or you're a first-time home buyer, you have very little power in this market.
So what's ambitious in this plan?
I think the ambition really is in the $4 billion price tag. That's on the authorization of many of the programs that we use to support housing production, things like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, things like preserving our existing state-owned public housing infrastructure. Massachusetts is the only state in the country that has 43,000 units of state-owned public housing, but a lot of it has not been invested in ways to make sure that it's healthy and safe and online. And so we're trying to make up for that in this bill and tripling the amount of capital improvements to our public housing stock. And then there are 28 policy proposals, which combined with the authorizations for spending and the tax credits that were in the tax bill that the governor signed over the summer and implementation of the MBTA Communities Act, those four different elements combined, we really believe are going to jumpstart housing production.
So how is zoning being addressed? It's been cited as a big obstacle. Municipalities have their own zoning patchworks, and they don't want this. And, how is that being addressed here?
A couple different ways. One is the MBTA Communities Law. There's 177 communities, so nearly half the cities and towns in Massachusetts that have significant amounts of public transportation within their community, or they're adjacent to communities that have public transportation access, have requirements to create as-of-right zoning for multifamily, more dense housing in the areas around those transit nodes, with the idea that this was really smart growth. This is taking advantage of the state investments in public transportation. It helps advance our climate goals by allowing people options to use public transportation to get to work or school. And it removes those local barriers that we know historically have existed. In the bill that the governor has filed, there's a number of other tools there, things like accessory dwelling units, or often referred to as in-law apartments, removing the local barriers that are in place and creating an as-of-right opportunity for homeowners to build those units anywhere in Massachusetts.
So the idea is to take some of that hyper-local control and opposition that has been the roadblock to help the state go forward?
Exactly. We can't put this all on a handful of communities. Some communities have been very progressive and aggressive about building housing, and yet other communities haven't. And this is a problem that affects every community in Massachusetts. Every community has municipal workers, school teachers and firefighters, bus drivers, retail workers who need affordable places to live close to where they work.
Now, there are a lot of estimates out there about how much housing the state really needs. What estimate do you go with?
We're working with an estimate of about 200,000 units of new housing that needs to be produced over the next 10 years if we're going to meet the demand, if we're not going to force people to choose other states than Massachusetts to build their careers. And we talk about it as life cycle housing. So folks, maybe when they're getting out of college and there are a few roommates, the kind of housing they're looking for is different than when they're starting their family and they need extra bedrooms, or when they're empty nesters or want to age in place. We need to make sure we have housing that meets all of those needs for each of those kind of stages of life, so you can do all that right here in Massachusetts.
Now, so this seems like something that surely has to be done, and right now we have, you know, the government trifecta. You have Democratic control of the governor's office in both houses. So what's the likelihood that this can move quickly? I think I was hearing several hints from the governor that the legislature has to pick up their pace. Let's listen to a bit of her sound.
We're dealing with a housing shortage that's decades in the making. To get costs down, we have to go big, and we have to go big now.
So is the administration turning up the heat on this legislature, which has been labeled as slow? 2023 was a really ineffective year, apparently, for the legislature. Will you turn up the heat to get this done?
I think we're looking to work in partnership with the legislature. We've suggested a very ambitious set of proposals that's received very widespread support from the business community, from housing advocates, from municipal leaders. It really is a unique coalition of folks who've come forward to support this bill, and I think the legislature gets the need to act and act quickly.
Okay. Ed Augustus, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Healey's first State of the Commonwealth address featured a lot of heavy topics, but it wasn't all serious moments.
To the cabinet and executive staff, we should take a selfie for this one. We do things a little differently. Yeah. No, with the gang.
With the gang, this one.
With the gang.
Get ready, smile.
Forgive us, we're rookies.